Have you ever wondered why some people live their whole lives in the same cycle? Same struggles, same frustrations, same disappointments, while others, with fewer resources, manage to break free and transform their destiny. The difference is not luck, it is not chance, and it is not even opportunity. The difference is mindset. Nothing changes until your mind changes. Your thoughts shape your reality. Every action, habit, and outcome begins first in the mind. When you look around at the life you are living today, every detail of it, whether big or small, is the reflection of thoughts that once occupied your mind. A job, a relationship, a decision to move or to stay. Even the smallest daily habits like what you eat, how you speak, or how you carry yourself, all of these originate in the invisible territory of the mind. Before your hands act, before your feet move, before words are spoken, the thought has already been planted and nurtured within you. This is why some people feel stuck in cycles they cannot explain. They keep repeating the same outcomes, not realizing that it is not life outside of them that is holding them hostage. It is the unrenewed thoughts within them. Thoughts are like seeds. A seed may look insignificant. When placed in the soil, but given time, it grows into something that shapes the environment. In the same way, what you allow to take root in your mind will eventually grow into the life you experience. If you continually entertain fear, negativity, and self-doubt, you should not be surprised when your life feels heavy, restricted, and without momentum. On the other hand, if you cultivate of growth, courage, and possibility, you begin to create an atmosphere where opportunities flourish and doors open that once seemed sealed shut. The reality you walk into each day is simply the harvest of the thoughts you planted yesterday. What makes the mind powerful is that it does not distinguish between what is imagined and what is real. It responds to whatever is repeatedly fed into it. This is why athletes visualize their victories before competing. They understand that the body follows the mind. They see themselves winning long before they step onto the field. This principle is not limited to sports. It applies to every area of life. If you think small, you live small. If you believe incapable, your actions will quietly sabotage your progress. If you imagine failure more than success, you unconsciously steer yourself toward the very outcome you fear. The mind is a loyal servant. It produces what you consistently direct it to believe. This is also why your inner dialogue matters. The words you repeat to yourself each day are programming your reality. Telling yourself, "I'm not good enough," or "I will never make it," is not harmless. It is the blueprint from which your mind builds your future. The difference between someone who rises and someone who remains stuck is not simply resources or connections. It is the quality of their thoughts. One person says, "I can't," and their mind agrees and shuts down possibilities. Another says, "I will find a way," and their mind opens pathways that once seemed invisible. Your mind is always listening, always shaping, always responding to your dominant thoughts. The truth is, thoughts precede habits, and habits create destiny. A person who thinks with discipline eventually lives with discipline. A person who thinks creativity eventually produces innovation. A person who constantly thinks about excuses eventually lives in a cycle of delays and missed opportunities. When you examine your current habits, what you do when you wake up, how you handle problems, how you spend your time, you are really looking at the visible evidence of your thought patterns. Change the thoughts, and the habits will shift. Change the habits, and the direction of life will follow. It is not enough to wish for change. Wishing without reshaping the mind is like pouring water into a broken vessel. It leaks out without producing results. Real transformation requires guarding your thoughts, feeding them with wisdom, surrounding them with vision, and refusing to let destructive patterns take root. The moment you begin to see yourself differently, think of yourself differently, and believe differently, your life will start to shift in alignment. Nothing around you truly changes until what is within you changes first. Your thoughts are the architects of your future. They design the framework of your actions, the foundation of your habits, and the outcome of your destiny. If you want to know where you will be tomorrow, look at the thoughts you are nurturing today. Choose them wisely, because they will one day become the life you are living. External change is impossible without internal transformation. You cannot fix life on the outside without first shifting perspective inside. People often spend their lives rearranging circumstances, hoping that moving to a new city, finding a different job, or surrounding themselves with new people will solve the emptiness or dissatisfaction they feel within. And while these changes may provide temporary relief, they eventually discover that the same struggles, doubts, and frustrations return in a new form. Why? Because the true battle is not on the outside, but within the mind and heart. Unless the inner world is transformed, the outer world will always reflect the same patterns, no matter how many times it is repainted. Imagine a person who is constantly unhappy in relationships. They might assume that the solution lies in finding a new partner, walking away from one person to embrace another. But if they carry the same insecurities, unresolved wounds, and limited connection, they will recreate the same problems again and again. Change on the outside does not heal what is broken within. In fact, it only reveals it more clearly. Transformation must begin at the source. The thoughts, emotions, and beliefs that shape behavior. True external progress is always born from an internal shift. The person who feels stuck financially will not find long-term freedom simply by earning more money. If the mindset of scarcity, fear, or lack remains unchallenged, the increased income will slip through their hands with the same speed as before. To change the financial situation permanently, they must first transform their perspective on value, responsibility, and discipline. The external wealth will then follow the internal wisdom. The same principle applies to health. Someone can commit to a strict diet or exercise plan, but if deep inside they view themselves as weak, incapable, or unworthy, the habits will not last. They will return to old behaviors as soon as willpower fades, because the inner image they hold of themselves has not changed. When they finally begin to see themselves as strong, disciplined, and worthy of health, the outer actions align naturally with that belief. Inner transformation sustains what outer effort alone cannot. This is why perspective is powerful. Perspective determines how you interpret events, how you respond to challenges, and how you carry yourself through the seasons of life. Two people can experience the same setback: losing a job, facing rejection, enduring hardship. Yet one sees it as the end while the other sees it as a beginning. The difference is not in the situation itself, but in the lens through which they view it. When perspective changes, the entire meaning of an event changes, and with it, the choices and opportunities that follow. This truth also explains why people can sabotage their own blessings. If someone carries a mindset of unworthiness, even when good opportunities come, they push them away or mishandle them, not because they lack talent, but because they have not transformed the beliefs within. Without internal transformation, external blessings cannot be sustained. Life always mirrors what is happening inside. The world you see is not simply what it is. It is what you are from within. Transformation is not just about positive thinking. It is about deeply renewing the way you see yourself, others, and the world. It requires honesty to confront destructive beliefs, courage to release old narratives, and commitment to replace them with empowering truths. It is not always easy, but it is the only way lasting change is created. A new environment without a new mindset will only become the old environment in disguise. So if you want your life to change, don't begin by rearranging everything around you. Begin by renewing everything within you. Align your perspective with possibility, discipline, and clarity, and you will notice the outer world responding to your new inner state. When the mind and heart are transformed, external change flows naturally. But without this inner shift, every attempt to fix the outside will only be temporary, like painting over cracks without repairing the foundation. Real transformation always starts within. And once it does, the external world has no choice but to follow. Belief systems create boundaries. The limits of your thinking determine the limits of your success. Every human being lives within the invisible walls of their beliefs, and those walls either confine them to a small existence or expand their ability to dream, grow, and achieve. What you believe about yourself, about others, and about life becomes the framework in which you operate. If you believe that success is only for a chosen few, you will never attempt to rise higher because you have already accepted a ceiling above your head. If you believe that opportunities are scarce, you will approach life with fear, clutching tightly to whatever little you have, never daring to take the risks that lead to growth. But if you believe that you are capable, that abundance exists, and that effort can create change, your boundaries shift outward and your possibilities multiply. The mind does not move beyond what it believes to be true. Imagine a bird raised in a cage. Even if the door is opened, it hesitates to fly out because its boundaries have been programmed into its thinking. Human beings are no different. Many live trapped by beliefs inherited from childhood culture or past experiences. A person told repeatedly that they are not smart enough will live under the weight of that belief, even if reality proves otherwise. Their potential is not limited by their ability, but by their belief. This is why so many talented individuals remain stuck, while others with less talent but greater belief soar. The deciding factor is not what you have, but what you think you can do with what you have. Belief systems also shape resilience. If you believe failure is final, you will give up at the first setback. But if you believe failure is feedback, a necessary part of growth, you will push forward, learn, and try again. The way you interpret challenges is determined by the framework of your beliefs. Some see obstacles as proof they should quit, while others see obstacles as signs they are getting closer to breakthrough. Both encounter the same walls, but one's belief system makes the wall an end, while the other leaves it a stepping stone. Boundaries created by belief are subtle but powerful. Think of someone who believes money is evil. Even if wealth opportunities appear, they will unconsciously reject them or mishandle them because their belief has limited their ability to accept abundance. On the other hand, someone who believes is a tool for good will approach it with responsibility and creativity, using it to build, give, and grow. The boundary is not in the resource, but in the belief about the resource. The same applies to relationships, health, and personal growth. Your beliefs draw the lines of what is possible. Changing your life requires confronting and expanding your belief system. This means questioning the assumptions you have carried for years, asking whether they are truths or simply repeated opinions passed down by others. Too often, people live under borrowed beliefs, never realizing those beliefs are the chains around their potential. To break free, one must be willing to examine and replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones. Instead of thinking, "I can't do this," replace it with, "I am learning and growing every day." Instead of saying, "This is impossible," train yourself to ask, "What would it take to make this possible?" Language shapes belief, and belief shapes reality. When belief expands, so do results. People who once thought they could never travel the world begin to take steps, save money, and find themselves in new places. Those who thought they could never start a business begin with small ideas that grow into enterprises. The shift began not with resources, but with the breaking of mental boundaries. Success is not locked away from you. It is locked away within you, waiting for your beliefs to allow access. In truth, your life can only rise to the level of your beliefs. If you expand what you believe is possible, you expand what you can achieve. If you cling to small, fearful, and limiting beliefs, you will live a life smaller than the one you were created for. The boundaries are not out there in the world, they are in the mind. Break those limits, and you will discover that success was never as far away as it seemed. It was only waiting for your beliefs to catch up. Renewed thinking creates new opportunities. Changing the way you see things opens doors that were invisible before. Life is full of chances, paths, and possibilities, but most of them remain hidden until the mind learns to look differently. Many people walk past opportunities every day, blind to them, because they are locked into old patterns of thought. They believe there's only one way forward, one solution, or one outcome, and so they miss the countless other doors waiting to be opened. Renewed thinking is like putting on a new pair of lenses. Suddenly the same world looks different, and what once seemed impossible begins to feel within reach. Consider someone who has always believed that failure is the end of the road. To such a mind, every setback looks like defeat, and so opportunities to grow or learn are overlooked. But if that same person renews their thinking to see failure as feedback, every setback becomes a stepping stone. Every mistake a teacher. Where they once saw dead ends, they now see direction. The world did not change, but their perspective did, and that shift made hidden opportunities visible. Renewed thinking turns into bridges. Opportunities are not only about external circumstances, they often lie in how we interpret ordinary moments. A renewed mind can see value in situations that others dismiss. Where one person sees a boring job, another with fresh perspective sees a place to develop discipline, build skills, and connect with people who could shape their future. Where one person sees a difficult relationship, another sees the chance to grow in patience, wisdom, and communication. Life is not simply what happens to you. It is what you see and what happens. Renewed thinking gives you the power to draw meaning and possibility from situations that once felt meaningless. Innovation itself is born from this principle. The great breakthroughs of history did not happen because the world suddenly changed, but because someone dared to see the same world differently. Airplanes existed in the imagination long before they existed in the sky. Electricity, telephones, the internet. These were always hidden in the fabric of creation, waiting for renewed minds to see them. The same is true in personal life. New opportunities in business, relationships, and personal growth are waiting, but only those who shift their perspective will notice and act on them. This is also why gratitude renews thinking. A mind focused only on lack and complaints cannot see opportunity. It becomes blind to blessings and solutions. But when you train your mind to see what is good, what is working, and what is possible, you unlock creativity and vision. Gratitude is not just positive thinking. It renews the mind by shifting attention from scarcity to abundance. And abundance thinking always sees more doors. Renewed thinking also creates courage. Many opportunities do not appear until you dare to look at fear differently. To a fearful mind, challenges look like threats. To a renewed mind, challenges look like invitations. A person who once avoided risk can, through new perspective, begin to see risk as the birthplace of growth. Suddenly, they are willing to step forward. And in that step, opportunities appear that had always been waiting. The doors were never absent. The courage to approach them was. The truth is that the world is not short on opportunities. It is short on renewed minds willing to perceive them. Each day, countless possibilities pass by unnoticed, not because they do not exist, because people are conditioned to see only within the limits of their old thinking. But the moment you change how you see, your environment expands. The same streets, jobs, people, and routines can suddenly reveal new pathways if you bring a new perspective. So if you desire change, don't wait for the world to hand you new chances. begin with your thinking. Renew it daily by questioning old assumptions, embracing new perspectives, and training your mind to look for possibility. The door to your next level may already be in front of you, but only renewed thinking will allow you to recognize it. Once your mind changes, the invisible becomes visible, and life begins to unfold in ways you never thought possible. Your mind is the battlefield of progress. If you win in your thoughts, you will win in your life. Every dream, every breakthrough, every transformation begins not in the world around you, but in the quiet war that takes place inside your own head. The greatest battles are not fought in arenas, workplaces, or even against external obstacles. They are fought in the realm of the mind, where doubt wrestles with confidence, fear collides with courage, and excuses clash with discipline. If you conquer the war within, the world outside bends in your favor. But if you lose in your thoughts, no amount of opportunity, talent, or resources will save you from defeat. The battlefield of the mind is where success is born or destroyed. Think of the countless people who had great talent, ability, or even chances laid before them, but because their thoughts whispered, "You are not enough." That one thought becomes a chain that binds the will, paralyzes action, and suffocates potential. Others with fewer skills but stronger inner belief press forward. And they rise not because life was kinder to them, but because they refuse to lose the war in their thoughts. The difference between those who succeed and those who remain stuck is often not opportunity, but mindset. Every day, your mind presents you with choices. It tells you stories about who you are, what you can achieve, and how far you can go. If your inner dialogue is filled with negativity, if you constantly rehearse failure before even starting, you weaken yourself before the race begins. This is why so many people sabotage themselves unconsciously. They talk themselves out of progress before they ever take a step. But if you feed your mind with faith, hope, and disciplined thinking, you build resilience that carries you through obstacles. Winning in life starts with winning the private conversations in your head. The mind is also where excuses are born. When challenges arise, it whispers, "It's too hard. It's not the right time. Maybe later." Those excuses seem harmless, but they are enemies disguised as comfort. If you accept them, you lose the battle, and every excuse carves deeper trenches of delay in your progress. On the other hand, if you fight back with determination and remind yourself, "I am capable, I am prepared, I will try again," you silence those excuses and push forward. Discipline in thought creates discipline in action. What you conquer internally becomes victory externally. Consider also how fear wages war in the mind. Fear exaggerates obstacles, making mountains out of molehills. It convinces you that taking risks will end in disaster, that trying again will only bring humiliation. Yet fear is rarely the truth. It is an illusion that thrives in the shadows of your imagination. When you challenge fear with renewed thoughts, when you tell yourself, "This obstacle is an opportunity, this risk is a doorway," the illusion fades. Fear is defeated not by the absence of challenges, but by the presence of stronger thoughts. Your mind is also where vision is born. If you cannot imagine yourself succeeding, you will never create the path to succeed. Visualization, belief, and expectation set the stage for reality. Athletes, leaders, innovators, all of them see their victories in the mind long before they achieve them. They rehearse success mentally until it feels inevitable, and then the body, energy, and actions align with what the mind already believes. The battlefield of progress is not just about silencing doubt, but also about planting the seeds of vision. A victorious mind does not simply resist negativity, it creates powerful images of the future and fuels the will to pursue them. Winning in your thoughts requires training. Just as soldiers prepare for combat, you must prepare your mind daily. This means guarding what you feed it, your influences, your words, your focus. It means replacing destructive patterns with empowering truths. It means disciplining yourself to think not only about problems, but about solutions. Over time, the mind grows stronger and the victories become easier. When you control your thoughts, you control your emotions, and when you control your emotions, you master your decisions. The truth is simple. Life does not hand victory to those who wait for it. It rewards those who win the war inside first. If you think like a champion, act like a champion, and discipline your inner world, eventually your outer world will reflect it. Your mind is the battlefield of progress. Defend it, strengthen it, and fight with it daily. Because the moment you win in your thoughts, your life cannot help but follow. Lasting growth requires mental discipline. Success doesn't start with money, talent, or connections. It starts with a renewed mind. Many people chase after external advantages, believing that if they could just earn more money, meet the right people, or be born with greater talent, their lives would be transformed. Yet history and daily life prove otherwise. Countless individuals with wealth, talent, or networks have failed because their thinking was undisciplined, scattered, or self-destructive. At the same time, others with little money, no connections, and only modest gifts have risen to great heights because they trained their minds to see clearly, think strategically, and persist with discipline. True growth is not about what you possess outwardly. It is about what you cultivate inwardly. Mental discipline is the foundation of progress because it governs every decision. The undisciplined mind runs from discomfort, avoids responsibility, and looks for shortcuts. But the disciplined mind embraces structure, consistency, and delayed gratification. While others chase quick wins, the disciplined mind plants seeds, waters them faithfully, and waits for the harvest. This is why growth rooted in mental discipline lasts. It is not built on chance or temporary excitement, but on steady inner strength that does not collapse when pressure comes. Consider how talent without discipline often fails. A gifted athlete who skips practice, neglects training, or falls to distraction eventually loses to one with average ability but relentless focus. The difference is not skill, it is mindset. The same applies in business, academics, or personal goals. Talent may open the door, but without mental discipline, it will not keep the door open. Discipline in thought creates discipline in habits, and habits shape destiny. Money, too, is powerless without disciplined thinking. Many people who suddenly acquire wealth through inheritance or luck soon lose it because they lack the mindset to manage it. On the other hand, those who train their minds to be patient, strategic, and responsible often build wealth slowly but sustainably. They grow because they see money not as a solution, but as a tool, and they apply the discipline of budgeting, saving, investing, and resisting impulse. Mental discipline turns resources into opportunities, while mental weakness turns opportunities into losses. Even connections cannot guarantee success without the right mindset. Meeting influential people or entering powerful networks may open possibilities, but if a person is careless, entitled, or mentally ends doors close quickly. Relationships thrive on trust, respect, and value, qualities that flow from a disciplined mind. The person who is steady, reliable, and intentional earns lasting respect and opportunity, while the one who lacks mental discipline burns bridges faster than they can build them. Mental discipline also protects against the greatest enemy of growth, inconsistency. Everyone feels motivation at the start of a journey, but that emotion fades. Discipline ensures you continue even when motivation disappears. It keeps you reading when you would rather watch television, exercising when you would rather sleep, saving when you would rather spend. These small daily victories in the mind accumulate into great external victories over time. Growth lasts not because you did something once with passion, but because you continue with discipline when passion was absent. Renewing the mind is central to this discipline. Old ways of thinking, patterns of doubt, fear or laziness cannot produce new results. Transformation requires shifting perspective, seeing challenges as opportunities, failures as lessons, and time as an investment rather than something to waste. A renewed mind understands that growth is not instant. It is gradual, often invisible at first, but unstoppable when discipline is consistent. Each renewed thought creates new actions, and each disciplined action builds new strength. The truth is that lasting growth is never an accident. It is built daily in the mind, long before it is visible in results. Money can fade, talent can be outmatched, and connections can break, but a disciplined and renewed mind remains. It creates opportunities, sustains progress, and fuels resilience in every season. If you desire growth that endures, begin not with what you wish to have, but with how you choose to think. Because success does not begin in the bank account, on the stage, or in the crowd. It begins with the quiet discipline of the mind, where lasting victories are first won. Lasting success is never the product of luck, quick opportunities, or outside advantages. It is the harvest of a disciplined and renewed mind. Money can be lost, talent can fade, and connections can vanish, but the strength of your thinking remains with you in every season. If your mind is trained to see possibility, to endure challenge, to stay focused when others give up, then growth becomes inevitable. Mental discipline is the anchor that keeps you steady when emotions waver and circumstances shift. The truth is simple. If you win the war in your thoughts, you will win the victories in your life. Every great achievement begins as a disciplined idea that is nurtured, protected, and acted upon. And when your mind is renewed, the doors that once seemed invisible will begin to open. So guard your thinking, strengthen your discipline, and commit to the daily practice of shaping your inner world. Because when the mind is strong, life cannot help but follow. And the growth you build will not only last, it will multiply